Welcome back to Daily Devotions with Pastor Peter. We are in Genesis 39, but before we jump into that, I do want to say one thing. If you're watching this on Saturday, and Saturday morning or Saturday all day, don't forget to add 1 hour to your clocks, because daylight savings time's coming. Whoop-de-doo. Not my favorite thing, honestly. That's actually one of the worst things that we have to do on a regular basis, which actually works perfect. I have my clock here at church. It's over there. And when daylight's time hit, for us in the fall to fall back, I never changed the clock. And I said, okay, I'll get to it. And every time I look at the clock, I'm like, okay, I'll get to it. And now, I might as well just have two clocks up there. One clock the other time and one clock the correct time. And I'll never have to change my clocks ever again. So lazy. Anyways, let's go into the next chapter 39. And as we go into this chapter, we'll see a few things here about Joseph, Potiphar's house, and more stuff about running away from women and sexual temptation. But this is not as bad as yesterday, so let's continue on with this passage. When Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelite traders, he was purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer. Potiphar was captain of the guard for Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. The Lord was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything that he did as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This pleased Potiphar, so he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. From the day Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. All his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. With Joseph there, he didn't worry about a thing except what kind of food to eat. Joseph was very handsome and well-built, and Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded. But Joseph refused. "Look," he told her, "my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one here has more authority than I do. He has held me back nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How can I do such a wicked thing? It is a great sin against God." She kept putting pressure on Joseph day after day, but he refused to sleep with her, and he kept out of her way as much as possible. One day, however, no one else was around when he went to do his work. She came and grabbed him by his cloak, demanding, "Come on, sleep with me." Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak in her hand as he ran from the house. When she saw that she was holding his cloak and he had fled, she called out to her servants, and soon all the men came running. "Look," she said, "my husband has brought this Hebrew slave here to make fools of us. He came into my room and to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he ran outside and got away, but he left his cloak behind with me." She kept the cloak with her until her husband came home. Then she told him her story. "That Hebrew slave you brought into our house tried to come in and fool around with me," she said, "but when I screamed, he ran outside, leaving his cloak with me." Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph had treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in the prison and showed him his faithful love, and the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners and over everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. The Lord was with him. I like that, because in the Bible, Jesus said to us that, "Lo, I am with you to the very end of the age." God is with us, and if God is with us, who could be against us? Even if we were thrown into prison, there is hope for us. Like I said, our district superintendent right now is a man who was imprisoned for his faith. God was with him. He spent years in prison, but he came out still strong, still serving God, still sharing his faith to this moment, to today. He's very strong and adamant about it. And so we see the story of Joseph going into Potiphar's house. And God blessed him. And the fact that, Joseph probably remained close to God, God blessed Joseph. And it's the circular relationship that they had. Potiphar, to the point, even noticed. And this was a witness as well, too. If we live closely with God, if we walk with God every single day, then evangelism becomes easy because people see that in our lives, how we respond to things, how we do things, our work ethic, everything matches or aligns itself with what God wants us to do. And that's the important thing, too, because when everything aligns with itself, people see that everything is working out for us. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph. And even though Potiphar was not a Hebrew, Potiphar doesn't know God. Potiphar is an Egyptian. Egyptians have their own gods, a god for everything that they have over there. We see later on the story of Moses. Well, that's really interesting when we get to that. But then we see the gods that even though Potiphar worshipped his gods, he noticed and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This was a powerful testimony. It pleased Potiphar. Potiphar put everything in control of Joseph. Joseph was also very handsome and well built, which is nice. Potiphar's wife soon saw that. So, a few things. I keep on telling my wife, maybe I shouldn't go on a diet because if I lose 50 pounds, then other people would notice me and that would be problematic. I love you so much, I will stay ugly for you because I will be faithful for you that way. And she didn't take that too fondly. But, the reality is if you look nice, if you look too nice, then people will notice you. And positions of leadership usually is a target for other people. When you're higher up in leadership, people want to shoot you down or take notice of you. And obviously, she took notice of him. But Joseph refused, and he refused because he was a righteous person, and he knows where he stands. But she kept pursuing Joseph day after day. Now, here's a situation that's really difficult. If you're putting yourself in a situation where day after day you're tempted to be in front of your sin. I mean, if you have a drinking problem and you have alcohol over your house, that's temptation. Eventually, you're going to cave. If you're going on a diet and you're trying to stay away from sugary foods, and everything in your possession, in your home, everybody else eats carbohydrates and sugary foods, and you have I'm going to just break into it and do it. That's why meal prepping is so important for people who are trying to go on a diet. And I can't get myself to meal prep. I don't know why. It's just not as fun. I've done it for a while, and it worked, and then I got lazy, and it's I'll just eat whatever's there. Problem. Because eventually, either you don't, but then the influence from the outside will somehow get their hooks on you. And she did that. Now, I don't know how hard it was for Joseph to stay away from Potiphar's wife. If she was ugly, maybe not that hard, but if she was pretty at the same time, it maybe was tempting for him. Verse 11, one day, however, no one else was around. That's one big mistake. No witnesses. And when we fall into sin, we have a habit of sin, one of the most important things for us is to have an accountability partner or have people around. Because when people are around, we're less likely to do the things that we're not supposed to do. When no one's around, that's when we have the temptations to fall in. And integrity is there's a few definitions that I subscribe to for integrity. Integrity is doing the right thing when no one's looking. But your integrity has a capacity as well, too, where if your environment is under your control, you still have the integrity to continue on doing what is right. But when the environment is no longer under your control, that's, in this situation, where things have gone wrong. And she was blunt. Come on, come sleep with me. Have a slumber party for those younger ones. And he said, no, I'm not going to do this. This is not right. And an image of sin is also sin for Joseph. And that's the thing. He knew that He knew probably that if he caved in, bad things would happen and he would just go along. Or he knew that, this would happen and something bad would happen and he would regret it. But even then, the fact that he was in the house without anybody there, she took his cloak and accused him, falsely accused him. And the thing I didn't see here is any, opposition. Joseph didn't really defend himself, which kind of bothers me a little bit. He didn't say even a word. And maybe he didn't have a chance. But yet, that may be something that shows his innocence. Either he was so contrite and he had no heart, and he did something wrong, or he wasn't wrong and he was waiting for a vindication moment where someone would say, okay, Joseph, in your case, explain what happened. But he knew he was in a situation where no one was going to believe a Hebrew slave. He knew his fate. But he wanted to live a life pleasing to God. He was God-fearing, walking with the Lord, and the Lord blessed him. Yeah, he learned a few lessons about not being that cocky, little smug kid who tells everybody his dreams. He learned to be quiet. And each and every single one of us, we have to go through a maturity process. And that's what Joseph went through here. Thick or thin, he still worshiped God. He still stayed close to him. And God still blessed him. And now what's an encouraging thing for us is that sometimes things are going great, but then things crash down. And no matter what happens, we hang on to the truth that Jesus said in the Matthew 28, verse 20, at the very end, I will be with you to the very end of the age. When we do what God calls us to do, he promises us that he will be with us. And the reality is, if we do what God calls us to do, he will be with us. It comes, though, at the point where when we're not doing what God wants us to do, God's still with us, but then we have to bear the consequences of what happens. And in Joseph's case, he was probably being a brat, and then he got thrown into the well. He probably thought, now it's best to keep quiet and just do what I need to do and do what is right. Not say too much. More power to Joseph. We'll continue the story tomorrow. But don't forget, do what's right. And even if things go bad for you, continue to do what's right, because eventually the truth will set you free. And in Joseph's case, the truth really did set him free. All right, my friends, take care. We'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to set your clocks back. See you tomorrow in church. Check us out at Midway, and you'll find us there. Take care, everyone. We'll see you.